Some of the most ferocious music ever recorded came out of a single year.
What do you mean I don't pay my bills? What do you think I'm doing?
1986 gave the world a wave of metal so heavy, so raw, and so unapologetically aggressive that mainstream radio simply could not handle it. If the harder side of rock is in your blood, consider subscribing so you never miss a video like this one. Number 10. Raining Blood by Slayer. By the fall of 1986, thrash metal had already been pushing boundaries for a couple of years, but nothing prepared listeners for what appeared at the end of Slayer's Rain and Blood album. The final track arrived like a verdict. Tom Araya's scream opens it, followed by one of the most recognizable guitar riffs in metal history, courtesy of Kerry King and Jeff Hanneman. The song clocks in at just over 4 minutes, but its density of aggression made it feel far longer in the best possible way. Rain and Blood was originally distributed by Geffen Records, which reportedly refused to promote it due to its extreme content. The album, produced by Rick Rubin, became a landmark of the genre. Raining Blood never touched mainstream radio. It didn't need to. The riff itself, a descending chromatic figure underpinned by Dave Lombardo's double bass drumming running at roughly 210 beats per minute, was engineered for one purpose alone: total sonic annihilation. Number 9. Master of Puppets by Metallica. Few songs from any era carry the structural ambition of this one. Released in February of 1986 on the album of the same name, Master of Puppets runs over 8 minutes. Radio programmers did not know what to do with it. The song opens with clean, arpeggiated guitars, then detonates into one of the fastest, most technically demanding riff sequences James Hetfield had ever written. Cliff Burton's bass work anchors the midsection with an almost orchestral quality. The album debuted without any singles pushed to radio and still sold hundreds of thousands of copies in its first year. Today, Master of Puppets is widely considered one of the greatest metal songs ever recorded. In 1986, it was simply too much for the airwaves. By the end of that year, the album had moved over 300,000 copies in the United States on the strength of touring alone, a figure that stunned even Elektra Records executives who had signed the band. Metallica played over 100 shows in support of that record in '86, carrying the music directly to audiences who would never hear it on FM stations. Number 8. Damage Inc. by Metallica. Closing out Master of Puppets the same year, Damage Inc. demonstrated that Metallica had no interest in radio friendliness whatsoever. After a deceptively soft acoustic introduction that lulls the listener into a false sense of calm, the song erupts into a relentless thrash assault. James Hetfield's rhythm guitar attack is borderline inhuman in its precision and aggression. The lyrics were confrontational enough that several retail chains refused to stock the album without a warning label, well before the PMRC labeling system became industry standard. Damage Inc. was never released as a single. It remained exactly what it was, a closing statement from a band that had decided commercial radio was simply not their concern. The tempo of the main riff sits around 212 beats per minute, placing it among the fastest passages Hetfield had committed to tape at that point in his career. Number 7. Madhouse by Anthrax. New York's Anthrax released Spreading the Disease in late 1985, but the song Madhouse, along with the blistering energy of their live shows in '86, brought them directly into the cultural conversation of that year. However, the track that best represents their raw power from that period is Caught in a Mosh from Among the Living, which arrived in early 1987. For the spirit of 1986, look to their relentless live staple Medusa, a track from Spreading the Disease built entirely around Charlie Benante's ferocious drumming and Scott Ian's machine gun rhythm guitar work. Radio had no framework for any of it. Anthrax were playing shows of several hundred people that year that felt like they were built for several thousand. The energy was barely containable. Ian's down-picking technique, executed at tempos that left his right forearm visibly exhausted by the end of sets, set a rhythm guitar standard that younger players studied obsessively. Benante, still a teenager for much of that touring cycle, was already being cited by contemporaries as one of the most technically gifted drummers in the genre. Number 6. Peace Sells by Megadeth. Dave Mustaine founded Megadeth after leaving Metallica in 1983, and by 1986 he had channeled every ounce of his anger into Peace Sells, but who's buying? The title track became one of the defining anthems of thrash metal. The bass intro, played by Dave Ellefson, is instantly recognizable even today. Peace Sells climbed as high as number 76 on the Billboard 200, a remarkable achievement for a record that received virtually no radio support. The song's political edge made it too sharp for the soft rock and hair metal formats dominating the airwaves in '86. The album was recorded on a budget of roughly $75,000, a fraction of what major label acts were spending that year, and it sounded raw and more dangerous for every penny it lacked. MTV eventually used the opening bass riff as the theme for its news program, which introduced Ellefson's four-note figure to millions of viewers who had never once heard it on the radio. Number 5. Them Bones by Alice in Chains. Alice in Chains came later, but in 1986 the groundwork being laid by bands like Alice in Chains' spiritual predecessors, heavy acts from Seattle and the surrounding Pacific Northwest, was already defining a sound too bleak for mainstream consumption. The track most representative of that 1986 metal spirit, however, comes directly from the catalog of Soundgarden, who formed that same year. Their early demos circulating in '86 carried a sludge-heavy, tuned-down ferocity that radio simply did not broadcast. Screaming Life, their first proper release, came in '87, but the recordings and rehearsals from '86 already showed a band building something radio could not contain. The Pacific Northwest was quietly growing a metal underground that the rest of the country would not fully hear for another 5 years. Chris Cornell's vocal range, already extraordinary in those early rehearsal tapes, was being deployed over guitar tuning so low they registered more as physical pressure than musical tone. Number 4. Hangar 18 by Megadeth. Returning to Megadeth because 1986 demanded it. The technical guitar work Mustaine and original lead guitarist Chris Poland developed during the recording sessions for Peace Sells set a standard for precision in metal that few bands matched. Poland's solo work on tracks like Devil's Island showcased a jazz-influenced speed and fluidity that fit no radio format of the era. The interplay between rhythm and lead guitar across that album functioned more like a classical composition than anything rock radio was prepared to program. Poland's contributions to that album remain underappreciated even among dedicated metal fans. The complexity was exactly what kept it off the air and exactly what made it last. Number 3. Rain in Blood by Slayer, the full album considered as one work. Minutes and 51 seconds. That is how long it takes Slayer to deliver what many critics still consider the most aggressive album in metal history. Released on October 17, 1986, Rain in Blood begins with Angel of Death and ends with Raining Blood, and not a single second of it was designed for commercial radio. The album's producer, Rick Rubin, understood that the record was a statement rather than a product. Geffen's internal concerns about the album's content led to a delayed and limited promotional push. The album contains 10 tracks averaging just under 3.5 minutes each, yet its compression of violence into such short running times is precisely what makes it feel so relentless. Every song ends before the listener can exhale. Rolling Stone magazine would later rank it among the greatest albums of all time, a publication that in 1986 would not have touched it with a critical instrument of any kind. Number 2. Battery by Metallica. Opening Master of Puppets with an acoustic guitar passage borrowed from a classical sensibility, Battery builds slowly before unleashing one of the most explosive transitions in metal history. James Hetfield described the song as a tribute to the intensity of the crowd at metal concerts, the physical and emotional charge of being surrounded by thousands of people who feel the music in their bones. The song's running time of 5 minutes and 13 seconds, and its tempo shifts made it completely unworkable for radio formats that required tracks under 4 minutes with predictable structures. Lars Ulrich's drumming during the full-speed sections of Battery is a lesson in controlled ferocity. The song is technically demanding, emotionally overwhelming, and utterly uncompromising. Radio programmers who encountered it in '86 had nowhere to put it. Listeners who found it never forgot it. Number 1. For Whom the Bell Tolls by Metallica. Revisited live in '86. Originally recorded in 1984 for Ride the Lightning, this song took on a new life entirely when Metallica performed it on the Master of Puppets tour through 1986. Cliff Burton's isolated bass introduction became a concert ritual, a moment of near-religious stillness before the band exploded into motion. Burton died in September of 1986 in a tour bus accident in Sweden. He was 24 years old. Every performance of For Whom the Bell Tolls from that year now carries the weight of that loss. The accident occurred on the 27th of September outside the town of Durarp on a highway in the early morning hours following a show in Stockholm. In the hands of Cliff Burton and his bandmates during those final 1986 performances, it did exactly that. Some music is not made for the radio. It is made to outlast everything else.